The driver's seat is presented by Ray Reese Volkswagen and Portland's Hyundai, Portland's #1 VW dealer, and Portland's newest Hyundai dealer. Now let's climb into the driver's seat on Miles Around Television.
In our driver's seat, we're going to take a look at this. This is a 2008 Cooper Clubman. But before we do, let's look at one of the original Minis. This is a 2000, one of the last ones made in Longbridge, England. And in fact, the Mini plant put Longbridge on the map. This vehicle wasn't the very last one made. The very last one made was a red Cooper Sport, but it was close to the end of a 41-year run for Mini. Mini originated in 1959. They wanted a economy, four-door vehicle that had low gas mileage and was easy to make, cheap to make, and affordable for the public. They got it in this vehicle. Now, when they discontinued it, BMW eventually bought the company, and now we have the latest generation. This is the Cooper Clubman. It's a station wagon Mini, which actually gives you a bit of extra room at the back. We're going to take a look all around this vehicle and show you some of the advantages since BMW have been developing the car.
One of the things that's always made a Mini an extraordinary vehicle, both in the way that it can be used every day and its performance, started with this car right here. Small, nimble, and useful to the character of anyone that wants to have that do-all car. Now this has gone to another level. We're going to take a look at that new cargo area and the way that it's more useful to the customers now. We're going to take a look at the interior. Right now we're going to take a look under the hood.
Underneath the hood of the 2008 Mini Clubman, you will find yourself a four-cylinder, inline, 1.6-litre engine.
Even the original Mini had great horsepower to weight ratios. I mean, it is a small car. It had a 1275 with fuel injection. This actually was one of the last motors to be put in these cars, and the fuel injection only made it more drivable. The performance was there because of the low weight. All of those dynamics shift over to the new car. Now, the deal is I can just shut the hood because there's really not a lot of performance in these cars. It's about the fun-to-drive factor. Fully independent suspension, great free-revving engines, and a great driving position all bring the car together and liven it up on the road. This longer wheelbase version is a little longer in the turn-ins, but the deal about these cars has always been what I've already said. It's about the fun-to-drive factor. These cars hit it on the mark. Now, you want to see a timeline and technology? Look at tires and wheel size on a performance automobile. This is a 12-inch wheel. I have got disc brakes on some of my own race cars, let alone my performance street cars that have bigger disc brakes. 12-inch wheels make for a very low mass or rotating weight on the car, again, lending itself to handling. Now you look at this. It's a 195, 55, 16-inch wheel and a very small tire by today's standards. Again, you look at the metamorphosis of technology in today's cars. This is small. This was even smaller, both lending itself to great driving. The thing about it is now 22s are almost the norm. When it comes to exterior styling of both the original Mini to my right and the new Clubman to my left, you have to look at lineage. It's the way that we, even in this show, love to point out the fact that several cars we've tested like to see that different incarnations have that general shape and feel to them. So you know it's a Mini from the get-go. In 1959, this car was born, and in 2000, this car still looked like the original. You looked at the new model that came out a few years later, and now this new Clubman, and you see the family resemblance. It's what makes the car a Mini, and for us, it's definitely what makes it a great car.
Well, there are some interesting nuances in this 2008 Mini Clubman. First of all, it comes with 3 doors on one side. Now, that was a problem for the British guys because in the factory, when they put the 3rd door here on the passenger side for the North American market, it allows the North Americans to open the 1st door and then reach in and open the 2nd door while you're standing on the sidewalk. Now, you can imagine on the British car, because the steering wheel is on the right-hand side, this would now be on the traffic lanes of oncoming traffic. However, this is very useful. There's only a 3rd door on this side of the vehicle. And of course, on the back, there is the 2 doors which open up to give you that extra space. Now, the styling on the exterior is outstanding for this vehicle, especially with that Clubman back end, giving you that extra length in the vehicle, but also some other things like the 2 sunroofs. One is actually a moonroof and one is a sunroof, but it lets so much more light into the vehicle and makes the vehicle much more pleasant from the inside. And that's where we're going next. On the interior of the 2008 Mini Clubman, you'll find a very well put together car. First of all, let's talk about decor. They've used in this particular model a brown leather with white piping and white accents. Looks absolutely spectacular. Now let's talk about the controls of the vehicle. Speedometer, large in the middle of the dash. Then you have your revs right above the steering wheel. Your heating or HVAC controls right underneath the speedometer. And then there's music controls and also window knobs for opening and closing the window. You'll find very exclusive pieces of hardware in here. The door handles are semicircles. You'll also find things in this vehicle which are very unique to Mini. That speedometer is one, and then things like the cruise control on the steering wheel is a very Mini thing. Now, looking at the interior overall, although small, everything is at hand. It is fairly well put together and luxurious.
The one key element of the interior for me is the fact that there's so much more room. Now, the back of the Mini Clubman is definitely larger for cargo, via dogs, or maybe something from Home Depot. But the thing about these cars has always been the fact that they've maximized space usage on the interior. The build quality is great, and I like the material choices, but it definitely does lack some of that original character that the original Mini has. And I guess the one thing to show why it's better than the original is this. Even at my height, I can get in and definitely fit.
So it's time to do the 2 ups and 1 down for this, the 2008 Mini Clubman. And my first up is going to be the extended back end. With the Clubman back end, you get that extra space. The extra station wagon-esque Mini now gives you a little bit more than you ever got in the regular size Mini. The trouble with the regular Mini is the fact that you can never get a suitcase in that trunk because it was so small. Well, all those problems have been solved with the Mini Clubman. In fact, I have a friend who's looking at buying one for a production vehicle to get all of his cameras and lighting gear in the back of one. My second up for this vehicle has got to be that interior. So easy to get in and out of with large doors, great piping and great color coordination on the inside. In fact, everything about the interior of this Mini feels like it's a luxury car. My downside for the car has got to be the price. Coming in at almost $29,000, I think this vehicle is too expensive for what you actually get and the size. Now, if you look at vehicles that are in the same price range, you can get a lot more for that sort of money. However, saying that, I still would probably get my checkbook out to buy the 2008 Mini Clubman.
When it comes to my 2 ups and 1 down for this, the 2008 Mini Clubman Cooper, I like the car overall, but I'm going to go with what Nick started, the price. $29,000 is far too much money for this size of car and the things that it can do for a potential family that has dogs and chores and things to do. That being said, I'd probably take my close to 30 grand and just find an original and or restored car. But when it comes to the ups, there's really so much low-lying fruit, the fun to drive factor, the great build quality. I'm going to go up to really specific things. One is the driving position. You sit up in the car and amazingly enough, you have great visibility. The other is the intuitive design behind the controls. I love the big gauges in the center. I like the way that the car dares to be different. That's kind of the overall viewing of the entire car to the public. But that is going to complete our review of the 2008 Mini Clubman Cooper. The 2008 Mini Clubman Cooper comes standard with a 1.6-liter, 16-valve inline 4-cylinder and 6-speed manual transmission. The base price is $19,550 with an as-tested price of $28,700 even. City mile per gallon EPA rating is 28. Highway mile per gallon EPA rating is 37.